On September 14, 1994, baseball did something it had not done through 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and 90 straight autumns. It canceled the World Series. No champion. No Game 7. No final out. The trophy sat in a box and went to no one. And the cruelest part, the season it erased might have been the greatest in a generation. That summer, the game was on fire. Everywhere you looked, something historic was happening at once. In San Diego, a quiet, round-faced hitter named Tony Gwynn was doing something no one had done in more than 50 years. He was hitting .394, and climbing. The magic number was .400, a line in the sand that belonged to Ted Williams in 1941 and no one since. For weeks, Gwynn had been the best pure hitter alive, spraying line drives to every corner of the field, inching toward a ghost. In August, people started to believe he might actually catch it. In San Francisco, Matt Williams had 43 home runs with 6 weeks still to play, dead on pace for Roger Maris and his 61. In Chicago, a mountain of a man named Frank Thomas was putting up an MVP season for the ages. A young Ken Griffey Jr. was the most electric player on earth. Everywhere, records trembled. And in Montreal, of all places, the best team in baseball was playing the best baseball of its life. The Expos. A small market club in a cold northern city the big spenders had written off. Larry Walker in right. Moises Alou and Marquis Grissom patrolling the grass. A skinny young Pedro Martinez in the rotation. A bullpen that simply did not lose late. They had the best record in the entire sport, 74 wins and 40 losses, and they were pulling away from everyone. For a franchise that had never once reached a World Series, this was it. The whole city could feel it coming. The stands filled up. The stories piled on top of each other. Baseball hadn't felt this alive in a decade. Ballparks that had sat half-empty for years were suddenly loud again. Fathers were bringing their kids. For one summer, the sport felt like it belonged to everyone. And there was one more twist that made it hurt worse. 1994 was the very first season of a brand new playoff format, 3 divisions, a wild card, more teams alive in October than ever before. It was designed to give cities exactly like Montreal their shot. The Expos would have been the centerpiece of it. Instead, the format's debut was scrapped before a single postseason game was ever played under it. But under the box scores, a war was already loaded and cocked. And both sides knew exactly what was about to happen. The players and the owners were about to burn the whole season to the ground. The fight itself was ancient. It was money, the oldest argument the game has. For nearly 30 years, the Players' Union had been the most powerful labor force in American sports. It was built by a man named Marvin Miller, and it had spent decades tearing down every wall the owners put up, winning free agency, winning arbitration, winning the right of a player to sell his talent to the highest bidder. Salaries had exploded. And the owners had never stopped trying to claw it back. In the 1980s they'd secretly colluded to hold salaries down, gotten caught, and been forced to pay the players hundreds of millions. The trust between the two sides was poisoned. Dead. By 1994, the owners wanted one thing above all else, a salary cap. A hard ceiling on what any team could spend. Small market clubs swore they were drowning, that they could never compete with New York's money without one. The union heard something different. It heard a wage freeze dressed up as fairness, the same fight, the same men, the same lie. And it would not agree. It never had. So the players drew a line. If there was no new deal by August 12th, they would put down their bats and walk out. August 12th came. There was no deal. And the games simply stopped. At first almost everyone assumed it would be brief. A week. Maybe 2. There'd be a compromise, some grand handshake, and baseball would be back by September the way it always was. That's how these standoffs ended. Not this one. The sides didn't move an inch. Days turned into weeks. The union would not bend. The owners would not blink. And the season just sat there, rotting. Tony Gwynn never got another swing at .400. Matt Williams never took another cut at 62. Frank Thomas's masterpiece was left unfinished. And the Montreal Expos, the best team in baseball, a city's once-in-a-lifetime team, sat in a locked and silent clubhouse and watched their miracle season freeze exactly where it stood. Then, on September 14, the acting commissioner, an owner himself named Bud Selig, walked to a microphone and said the words nobody had truly believed he would say. The rest of the season was gone. The playoffs were cancelled. There would be no World Series. Not since 1904 had a season ended with no champion crowned, and even then, they'd been able to blame a stubborn feud, not a walkout that left the ballparks dark. The strike didn't end that fall. Or that winter. It ground on for 232 days, the longest work stoppage in the history of American professional sports. Desperate, the owners tried something almost unthinkable. They announced they'd open the 1995 season with replacement players, minor leaguers, retirees, weekend semi-pros pulled off of beer league fields, dressed up in major league uniforms. Whole spring training camps filled with strangers. It was a humiliation. And it collapsed only when a federal judge in New York, a woman named Sonia Sotomayor, years before she sat on the Supreme Court, issued an injunction against the owners and effectively ordered real baseball back onto the field. The players returned. The 1995 season started late and short, 144 games instead of 162. When it was over, the players had lost hundreds of millions in salary, and the owners $1 billion in revenue. Everyone bled. But no one had lost more than Montreal. The Expos could no longer afford the team they had built. In the cold months after the strike, they began selling off their stars, one by one, Walker gone, Grissom gone, the arms scattered to richer cities. The best team in baseball was quietly stripped for parts before it ever got to prove what it was. Montreal never contended like that again. A decade later the franchise gave up, left Canada altogether, and became the Washington Nationals. To this day, people in Montreal will tell you flatly, 1994 was the year that killed their team. And they are not wrong. Tony Gwynn's season froze at .394. He was a first-ballot Hall of Famer, one of the finest hitters who ever lived, and he never got that close to .400 again. No one has hit .400 over a full season since 1941. The last man with a real, honest chance at it had the bat taken out of his hands by a boardroom fight he never had a vote in. And the fans, the people who had paid for every ticket, every hot dog, every jersey, felt something new and bitter. Betrayal. Two sides of millionaires and billionaires had taken the one thing that was supposed to belong to everyone, and held it hostage over money most fans would never see in 10 lifetimes. A generation of young fans learned a hard lesson, that beneath the grass and the anthems, the game was a business like any other, and a business could simply take it away. Attendance collapsed. Television ratings sank. Some people swore they were done with baseball forever, and plenty of them meant it. So the game were looking for a way to make America love it again. It found one in the summer of 1998. Two sluggers, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, chasing Maris and his 61 all season long, launching home runs at a rate the sport had never witnessed, trading the lead week after week while the whole country watched. The crowds came back. The turnstiles spun. Baseball, everyone said, had been saved. And only later would America learn what that rescue had been built on. The needle. The steroid era. The game had traded one scandal for a far larger one, because it was desperate. And it had been desperate ever since the autumn it walked off the field and left it empty. That is the long shadow 1994 casts. A cancelled World Series didn't just cost a single season. It broke a trust so completely that it took a chemically inflated lie to patch it back together. It killed a franchise. It froze the last great .400 chase in mid-swing. And it taught the men who run the game a quiet, dangerous lesson, that no matter how deeply they wound the fans will always, eventually, come home. There has not been a single work stoppage since. The scar was that deep. Both sides looked at the empty October of 1994 and quietly agreed to never do it again. They tore the whole thing down to win an argument. And within a few years, hardly anyone could even remember what the argument had been about. So here is the question worth sitting with. If the greatest season in a generation could simply vanish overnight, no champion, no closure, no reason a child in the stands could ever understand, then what is the game truly promising you every single spring, when it leans in close and tells you that this year is the one? Follow for more.